Good afternoon, almost, and welcome back to session 3 on day 1 of Longmont Startup Week 2021. We've heard from the CEO of Ziggy's, the VP of Marketing from Arc Thrift Stores, and next up we have 2 industry icons in a amazing presentation, a dual 20-minute presentation on bold and brave marketing strategies. So we're going to be joined by Jimmy Verretta and Lori Jones. Jimmy is the founder and CRO of ViTL, and Lori Jones is the president and CEO of Avasec Communications. It'll be a tag team opportunity to hear from both sides with different perspectives, but a unified approach to bold and brave marketing. This session is going to feature these 2 who are going to help lay a groundwork for bold strategies that ultimately define a business's journey to success. First up, Jimmy will walk through how ViTL uses qualitative analysis to help their clients draft their missions and values, and how they craft what he calls vivid visions. And then we'll explain how it all comes together to support critical goals, proposed KPIs, and strategic initiatives. Lori Jones will then take the stage and help inspire attendees with an impassioned belief in how bold and brave marketing strategies make big impacts. Whether it's embracing the marketing that motivates by pushing boundaries and going a bit beyond a client's range of acceptability, or identifying the importance of great creative, this session will encourage you to look inside, make hard decisions, and ask some hard questions. So first up, Jimmy's going to walk us through this journey where aligning strategy and vision can help businesses be successful. A little bit about Jimmy. He is the co-founder of ViTL Solutions and brings 20 plus years of management consulting to industries as diverse as healthcare, financial services, and the public sector. He thrives on solving complex problems and working with organizations as a trusted advocate for his clients. Jimmy is known for forging sincere relationships with business leaders by asking tough questions, but also partnering to find the best possible solutions together. We are incredibly pleased and grateful for Jimmy joining us today. Jimmy?
All right. Hang on one sec here. Oh. And I'm having a little bit of trouble here finding my deck.
There it is.
There it is. Sorry about that. Okay. Thanks, Dave, for that introduction. It's truly an honor to speak with everybody here today. As Dave mentioned, my name is Jimmy Verretta. I'm the CRO and co-founder of a Denver-based management consulting firm called ViTL Solutions. We're about 4 years old, so we're a lot like a lot of you out there watching us today. We're sort of in the startup scale-up phase of our company. One of the things that we've always offered is being able to help small companies like you build a strategy that can align to a vision, which we can also help you with as well. It's very, very important to do that in order, because you're the idea people, right? You're the people who want to throw something out there, but you might not necessarily be thinking about everything that your business needs to be thinking about in order to be successful. So we can kind of help you, or I will talk about and give you some ideas on how to help you do that. I can talk about the methodology, and I'm going to get into some of that, but I mean, that itself is about a 2 or 3 day workshop, but I'm going to go over the high level on what those things are and the kind of things you need to be thinking about in order to align your vision to your strategy. But as I had said, we help clients do this. We help smaller clients do this. We've done that traditionally. But we also eat our own dog food, right? So our company, we do this every year. We go through a strategy session. We realign our strategy to our vision, and that's a constant thing that we do, and we're constantly trying to hone in on it. We've got a very good culture of innovation within our company, so we encourage our people to bring their ideas on where our strategy might go, and so we vet all those ideas, but we'll get into that a little bit here. But I wanted to talk a little bit about just why companies fail. And these are some statistics that we pulled from the U.S. Bureau of Labor. You can see 20% of all startups fail within the first year. 50% fail within 5 years. So you can see it's a very risky proposition to start a new business, and it takes a lot of guts. And so you should be commended for doing that. And it was very scary for us as well. My company, we're at the 4-year mark right now. I think we're going to make it through 5. We feel pretty good about it. But there were some moments in there where we really had to make some tough decisions and act accordingly, especially with COVID. And I'll talk about that in a little bit too. But why do businesses fail? You can see them on the right here, and I'm going to focus really on the first two, delivering a need that's not out there yet, and basically the failure to create a sound business plan and execute upon that. And that's one of the things that I think people need to go probably 3 or 4 levels below what they probably already think that they have. So just a quick history of my company. I'm one of 3 founders. You can see our names out there. Graham Strachan, who is our CEO, Chris Wozniak is our COO, and myself started this company about 4 years ago. We spun off from another company that was basically a management consulting firm too, did similar things. We've evolved ours to do some different things, and that's been part of our journey as well. But we took a lot of the lessons that we learned and we formed, really what we wanted to do with our vision and our culture and all those kinds of things. So we had a really good history. And I was fortunate enough to have a lot of clients when we started too. So we weren't quite as, we had money out of the gate, let's put it that way. Not everybody has that luxury, but we still had, some of the growing pains that you're all going to experience if you haven't already. We set our company up as an employee-owned company, meaning that we offer equity to our employees, and we vest that over a couple of years. That was very intentional for us to do that. We wanted to do that because we wanted our people to start thinking really strategically and embrace our vision and think like owners. And decisions that they make from a day-to-day standpoint had a long-term feel to them. And so that's why we wanted to create that culture within our group. Right now we've got about 10 people. We're going to add 1 or 2 more this year. And we also use independent contractors. So we've got about between any given time 15 to 20 people working for us and taking care of our clients for us. I mentioned we had spun off from another firm. There are a lot of lessons that we had learned and that we spilled into this new company, and that's going to be part of our methodology. I'll talk about that in a few minutes as well. Our services have evolved. We basically, as management consultants, I don't know how many people know what that really is, but we come from big X backgrounds, a lot of us. And what we do is really program and project management. You can think of it that way, and being able to manage really large initiatives for mid and large companies, starting off in the Denver metro area, but we've evolved from that. The problem, we had a marketing problem that we're still trying to solve, but one that we realized early is if I would go out and tell people, hey, we have program and project managers, that's great, there's a million of you out there. What differentiates you? What industries are you specializing in? Do you have verticals? And we really didn't have any of that because we were really generalists. We could apply what we did to anybody or anything, which was true, but it was tough to sell outside of your traditional relationships. So we had to start thinking about productizing our services and how we might be able to differentiate and deliver a stronger message. What were our target markets? Initially it was the Denver market, and so now we're thinking a little bit more, especially with COVID and the work from home and the virtualization of the workforce. Now we're starting to expand that and understanding what that looks like. And then expanding beyond traditional sales methods of my relationships within the market, the people that I've worked with in the past who have provided wonderful clients for us, but now we really wanted to move into a digital marketing age. And what did that mean? We are, quite frankly, still figuring that out, but we have a really good idea of what that process looks like. And I know Lori will talk a little bit about more when she gets up next. And I just wanted to mention, the impact that COVID had on us. We were cruising along, but not really sure what was going to happen when COVID did hit. I don't think anybody knew. We took the opportunity for when COVID hit because, well, quite frankly, we weren't selling anything at that point like most people. Our existing clients did honor their contracts, which was wonderful. But as owners, we had to suspend or greatly reduce our salaries, and that's what a business owner does, and what a lot of you will find out as well. It's not all glamour. It's not a ton of money. There's really tough times, and you have to have that long-term look at it. But we were able to do that and reduce our salaries, cut our OPEX way down. We were able to land a really big client, fortunately, during that time. But we stepped back and took a look at what we were doing with a really, really critical eye And that's where a lot of our marketing discussions started to happen around, well, what are we doing? What can we do better? And being very critical because we had the opportunity. So as a result, we came out of COVID, really looking good with, the light at the other end of the tunnel wasn't a train, and so that was really good for us. And now we're making new strategies, and we're really starting to look at, what can be next. So we stared into the abyss. We saw what scary looks like, and so we're moving on. So I think it was a really good lesson for us anyway. So I first want you to understand sort of the pyramid here on how to build a business. And I'm going to focus on really the vision and specifically the strategy and touch a little bit on the execution, the top three layers of this pyramid. But the mission and the values are really the foundation of what your company can be and what it needs to be. And those are really things that should never change. So why do you exist? And what you believe in. Why do you go to work? What gets you up every day? Now, you're going to tweak those over time a little bit, but they should always stay consistent. And you should have that, and you should know what that is, and you should be able to define that and articulate it to anybody who asks you. Many of you have done this already. Some of you have thought through it, but you know it, but you haven't articulated it yet. And maybe you're just running with an idea. And that's all fine, because everybody's been there. Eventually, you're going to want to do this as you really start to go to market. The vision and the strategy are next. The vision is a 3 to 5 year view of where you want to go with your company. We use a 3-year view, and we review that every year, which is the strategy piece. And I'll show you at the very end what that roadmap looks like and how we go about doing it, and then the execution phase of that. It's an ongoing thing. How are we always looking at our strategy? So that's the alignment of vision for strategy. And I'll get into a little bit about the methodology like I talked about, but I just wanted you to understand and make sure you're clear on the foundation of a company is the mission and the values. Just take a real quick look at what ours are. When we started our company in 2017, we came together and built this box on the left. Our mission is we exist to help business leaders achieve their vision, and that's a very simple statement, and that includes our clients and our employees. We built our tenets around there. These are the reasons we get up in the morning and we go to work. We do things right. We do the right things, we do things right, act with curiosity, and we live passionately. So we're always having our clients' best interests in hand, as well as our employees. And you can read through a little bit of what our vision is right there on the right, but I think the really important one for me is the last one, is building a company of true value for our employee owners and their families, because we wanted everybody to be in this and have a long-term view. Now, Dave mentioned early on in the intro about a vivid vision, and this is what has evolved from this initial box that you see. It's about a 6-page look at what our vision is, and we blow it up and we look at it all the time. And you can see some of the headings that we talk about here. What is our culture going to look like by 2023? What things will we be expert in? What are people outside going to say about us? What's the press going to say about us? I mean, this all sounds a little cheesy, maybe pie in the sky, but it's good to keep that North Star. What kind of systems do we use to run our business? How do we go about our sales and our marketing? And then financials. What are your goals for revenue? What are your goals for net income? How does that play into it? I'm not going to get into financials too much in this because we have a limited amount of time, but we can certainly talk about that in the Q&A session if you'd like. So building your vision, just things to think about. What do you want out of this company? Do you dig a little bit deeper? Do you want to, yeah, I've got this great idea, I want to get it out there, but what do you want out of it? Do you want to retire in 5 years? Do you want to never retire? Do you want to pass it on? Do you want to set your company up to sell it? If you want to retire, what's your number for retiring that you can sell the company off and and comfortably right off into the sunset? So those are kind of the foundations of what you want to be thinking about, and then driving down from there. So when we first got into it, it was we wanted to make we had like a revenue goal. But then when we sat down and looked at it, we sat and talked to each other and just said, well, when do you want to get out of this and why? And what do you need to get out of it? So that helped drive a lot of our decisions and really a lot of the pointing and the pointing of the strategy towards our employees, because we'd like them to take that over for us one day so we can also write off. But just some things to think about for cash. Are you in it for cash flow? Are you in it for the ownership? Do you want to retire? Is there a transaction there? Do you want something for your employees that maybe you didn't have in maybe previous companies, on top of what your vision and your ideas are? So I'm going to get into the methodology just a little bit, and I do have some cheat sheets here because I don't want to hit you with a ton of slides. But the methodology really you can break it into 3 phases, and this is the methodology, again, to build your strategy and build a roadmap to line up with your vision. The methodology is going to go into where have you been till now, so basically your past, what your future looks like and what you want it to look like, and then ultimately, what's your journey? How do you make that happen? And so I'm going to go over this, and I probably have just a few minutes to go over what this is, and we can talk about this more. Just keep in mind that running through these workshops takes 2 to 3 days, so I will try to give you a good taste for what these things are. So the first part is really our insight, and that's kind of the journey up until now. And this is really just an understanding of where you've been and what the lessons are that you've learned up until now. And this should help inform what your strategy is. And this is actually really fun stuff. When we first get into these, we talk about these different levels, or these different activities. And each one of these has an exercise, by the way, and I can talk about those just a little bit. So your key company events. So what are things that really change the trajectory of your company, good or bad? Any event, and then what was the impact of that? How did you react to that, right? Maybe you hired somebody, maybe you landed a big client, maybe you lost a client, maybe your product failed. Whatever that is, we list all those things out, and you'd be amazed really at how far your company has come in such a short time, and things that you just took for granted all of a sudden have deeper meaning. So what is your business and how do you win? And so this really speaks about the products themselves or the services that you're starting up. So it's really an identification of kind of who your customers are, what you've done for them traditionally, how do you deliver those, how do you get paid, who are your competitors, and how would you even define your competition at that point? And then why did they select you versus maybe going a different direction? So having a deep understanding of these will also help inform what you might want to change going forward as well. And then we have what we call the WTF list, and in this case, it's the where to fail list, right? So what has kept you up at night? And so if you looked at something that failed, was there a point in there that you should have recognized that, yep, we needed to back off of this, but we pressed forward and we ended up failing? So what kinds of things should you know in the future? And that leads into our lessons learned. Because everything that you do, everything that you've become up until this point, better inform you on how you're going to move forward and to help with your strategy and how to evolve. So that leads us into our future. So where do you want to go? This is the point where we start, developing a clear vision for your business. And ultimately that's going to build what your strategy is and how you can execute against your strategy. So some of the exercises that we go through, where do you want to go? So this is really a look at the previous one of that we just talked about, who your customers are, what your product is up until this point. But now going forward, what do you want that to look like? So really going through that exercise and maybe saying, that target market didn't work for us. We need to go for a bigger one. Or we maybe want to jump from $100 million companies as our targets and up to maybe $1 billion and up, or maybe it's somewhere in between. A SWOT analysis, it's always good to understand your internal strengths and weaknesses versus your external strengths and weaknesses and help that inform your decisions as well. What are the target customer profiles? In my company, we call these our avatars. So not only specifically who do our customers, who are they, but who are the people making the decisions? What is their profile like? Are they, is it a man? Is it a woman? Are they in their 50s or in their 30s? What makes them tick? And understanding that can really help how you're going to market to these kind of folks. And then, really where to play. And we've got a whole exercise that can talk about different ideas you might have for where you want to take your services and be able to quantify those and help build out, a map for what those would look like. Are there some things that are really, really important to put into play right now versus in 2 years? And so there's a way to take the subjectivity out of that and really make informed decisions on that as well. So we really want to line that up. And how to win. Right, this is probably my favorite exercise of all these. This and the key events, which was the very first one. So you have a price. You want to win on price, quality, customer intimacy, or innovation, and you get to pick two. And this really can bring about some heated discussions. And I have my next slide. I'll show you kind of what some examples of these are. But a lot of people really want to they want this to evolve over time. They need it to evolve because they might go in thinking, well, I'm going to come in here and be a low-price competitor, but then you get out there and realize, well, I don't have a lot of competition, so price might not be what I want, but I certainly can innovate, and there's a lot of examples of companies who have excelled at that. And then we get into the vision, mission, and the BHAG, which is the big, hairy, audacious goal, but I'm not going to get into too much of that right now. I can send everybody this who wants this. This is really examples of the pick two combo and some of the companies that are out there and kind of who they are, everywhere from Southwest Airlines to Amazon and Zappos, and you can understand what two areas that they win at. And then finally, just really what is the journey, and this is how we get there. This is where we build everything we've learned from the first two parts, and then we build a roadmap for how you're going to execute this, how you're actually going to align your strategy to what your vision is. And this is an example of what the roadmap sort of looks like. So up in the upper quadrant, or I'm sorry, the upper right, you'll see what your vision is. Maybe you have a revenue vision for 3 years down the road. Well, how are you going to get that, and how are each area of the business going to help define what those initiatives would be? And so this really is the ongoing piece. And so each year we'll take a look at this, we'll move one more year out, we'll truck off what we've done, and then we'll update our vision, and then we'll update the initiatives we need to get there. But then that's where we kind of come in and we help companies with that. They want to do this internally, or they want help managing some of these initiatives, so we can kind of do both, and we have done both for people with sort of a coaching mentality over the life of that vision, depending on what they want. So that's something you have to keep in mind is, this all came out of the strategy session that I went over at a very high level, but this should also help you to, enable certain things, especially, and Lori will get into this, the marketing piece. So a marketing strategy is something that you should be thinking about. How do you take what you want to bring to market, and then you make that work from a marketing standpoint? Extremely critical. So I know I've kind of run up against it here, and I'm going to turn it over to Lori. Let me bring up hers.
Great. So next up, Lori is going to cover down on brave and bold strategies that helps brands stand out in the sea of sameness. A little bit about Lori. With more than 25 years of experience, Lori Jones is a marketing executive and recognized leader in integrated communications in the digital age. Her experience shifting perceptions for building brands with a share of heart and positioning companies for a share of market enable her to contribute a strong understanding of the intricacies of the motivators of today's buyers. Her experience with national and local brands enables her to contribute to those successes that she has enacted with these organizations for the past 2 decades. Lori is a founding member of the Forbes Agency Council, and under her leadership, the agency has been named one of Colorado's top 100 women-owned businesses by ColoradoBiz magazine multiple times, been included in the Denver Business Journal's list of top 25 advertising agencies in the state, and has been named to BizWest's Mercury 100 list year after year. And in 2020, Lori was inducted into the Boulder County Business Hall of Fame. It's my pleasure to introduce Lori Jones of Avocet Communications.
Thank you so much, Dave, and thank you, Jimmy, as well, for some incredible insight as it ties into really building up that strong strategy. One thing that we find out quite often when we meet early with brands is that they feel that their product is going to sell itself. We know firsthand that products and services don't sell themselves. They need strong strategy and strong marketing that really backs them up. I love this quote. We talk a lot at Avocet about the sea of sameness, and you're more likely to drown in the sea of sameness than get eaten by a shark while navigating new waters. That really tees up beautifully, ultimately, where Avocet deploys its marketing strategies for its clients. As you know, Jimmy really talked a lot about the business plan problems and ways to build strategies there. And I'm going to take that one step further and talk about one of the key components that helps brands fail, which is bad marketing. So let's get into it. Today's agenda includes, we're going to answer what good marketing is. We're going to take what ultimately you deploy in good business strategy with a competitive analysis and apply that to a competitive analysis with marketing, and then how you differentiate from your competition, how you can outsmart your competition through some key strategies that Avocet deploys with its clients, and then how you can turn that into a strong marketing plan and execution, and be brave and bold the entire way. Okay, so what is good and bad marketing? I'm really sorry, guys. We are having some issues with the size of the screen. I built this out as a broad screen, and with me being on the right-hand side of the screen, you're unable to see some of the creative. Can we change that? So maybe I'm not on screen and they can see the full slide, or should I just continue on? While they're trying to figure out some of the technology pieces. Good and bad advertising. Good advertising speaks for us. Bad advertising speaks at us. And there's a great creative component here that we might be able to bring forward. We'll know here in just a second. It's an ad for IKEA. And you can see the tip of the ad there. They've got the foot, they've got a sneaker inside of a heel, and they're selling storage space for shoes. So the ad is all about need space, and that speaks for the customer, not at the customer, which is a key differentiator that we see in a lot of good and bad marketing that is out in the marketplace. Here's another example. Good advertising utilizes products to help tell a story, and bad marketing tells stories about products. Here, we launched quite an initiative for an aerospace company by the name of Rocor, and what you don't see on screen is Old Space New Tricks. Now, Rocor sells a lot of great product and engineering that amplifies products in space. And instead of saying our products do X, we paid homage to heritage, which is Old Space, and brought innovation and technology to the table, which is New Tricks. Moving along here, many of you may have seen this campaign. Good advertising inspires, bad advertising manipulates. Here, we are promoting Longmont Economic Development Partnership and a big program that we launched last January about the economic forecast. So the headline, what's the economic forecast for Longmont? Hint, you might need these. And we've got an incredible pair of sunglasses with a beautiful reflection that states paving a path for a bright future. So you can see the difference there between what inspires and what ultimately manipulates. Promotes values. This is something that Jimmy talked a lot about, and even Maggie Civic from ARC Thrift Stores talked a lot about. Instead of valuing promotions, priceless Christmases are priced less at ARC Thrift Stores. This brings the emotion of the buyer to the table. Priceless Christmases. We all want a priceless Christmas every year, right? It's family time, and that's what this concept brings forward. And this is something that all of you have seen. Again, good marketing is all about them, the audience. Bad marketing is all about you. UCH does an incredible job with their campaign about live extraordinary. It's not we have great doctors and great nurses. We're implying that you can live extraordinary, and you should. Okay, so next, this is what really encapsulates everything, correct? Okay, we're going to try to pause this really quick so we can show full screen. And thank you very much. It's not paused, but I'm sure you can. It's for us Mac users.
It's weird seeing myself.
You look great, though, Sergio.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Could I try sharing my screen from this monitor, if that doesn't work?
Yeah, should I just share it from here instead of presenter mode?
Sure.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll just share.
Is that okay with you?
Yep, it sure is.
Yeah, because now you can Is that better?
Yeah, that's just fine. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so by the way, you can go ahead. I will make this deck available for everyone. So if you want to go ahead and put your email address in the chat bot, just go ahead and we will go ahead and send that over to you. So here we are with People First Marketing. So all of this really ties into ultimately what we feel is very important, and that is putting the audience first. It's all about people first marketing. And when we are engaging with them instead of speaking at them, you are ultimately going to push out a great product. Next, how do we compete? Competitive analysis is something that's very important for the agency and all the programs that we deploy. And we take a lot of strategic analysis on the competition, making the sort of analysis that Jimmy and his team works on. Is it the right product? Is it the right audience? So on and so forth. And take that a step further to really understanding the mindset of the buyer. What is the the competition? What is the competitive voice? What is their tone? What is their look and feel? What sort of position do they hold in the marketplace? And ultimately, is that a position that you want to take a stranglehold on, or do you want to push it aside and build something additional? We always suggest, by the way, you take a look at a minimum of 5 competitors throughout this analysis. What are their go-to market strategies? What does the advertising look like? What is the messaging? What is the PR? Is it an integrated approach, or is it just content? Those sort of things become very important. And by taking a look at all those components, we can really determine ultimately what that market position is and what the key messaging is as well. What we don't want happening is any of our clients and any of you going to market saying the same thing that your competitors saying. So that's really where we start, and making sure that we can come up with sound criteria to help you differentiate yourselves in the marketplace. So then how do you differentiate? There's a key point here that we learn quite often when we are working with especially some of the startup brands in the marketplace. As we walk through some of the strategy sessions, we'll talk a lot about the fact that they've got the best product, that their customer service is the best, that they're open 9 to 5 every day. Those points of parity that are really table stakes when it comes to marketing your product or your service. Don't focus on table stakes. That doesn't differentiate. You sound like everyone else in the marketplace. Let's focus on points of differentiation. So if you were to take a list and as you're doing your competitive analysis, start checking off those points of parity, and then starting to really hone in on what the points of differentiation might be, that's how you ultimately can stand out in the marketplace. Key point here, an individual needs to interact with your brand 26 times before making a buying decision. If you deploy the sort of processes that we're talking about today, you can shrink that by quite a bit. So number one, you're saving marketing dollars, but number two, you really are differentiating yourselves from the competition and rising up in the sea of sameness so that they are attracted to your brand before the competition. So let's talk about how then we can outsmart. I want you to take a look at this, what we determine range of acceptability tool that we use quite often. Those points of parity, by the way, let me back up for a second. If you take a look at a brand in the marketplace or your brand in the marketplace, and you assess where they are from a boring or to a bold standpoint, most brands are going to be on the left-hand side of this tool. They're going to be a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. They're going to look like everyone right there. They're focusing on points of parity. They're showing their product as a lead. They're not humanizing anything. Our brands, we always move to the very, very far right side of this range of acceptability, and that is ultimately how you differentiate. You create great creative strategies this way. You don't look like every other brand in the marketplace. And by the way, we're just not competing with direct competitors. You're competing and vying for the attention of every brand in the marketplace right now. So it's not just about differentiating directly, but differentiating and really creating top-of-mind awareness among all brands. And this ultimately, there's something unique here. When we are going into a strategy session with our clients, we will walk them through this and we'll ask them, where do you want to be on this range? And it's easy to say, I want to be a 10. But sometimes you need to gradually move yourself to that far side of the range based on the marketing that might already be in the marketplace and whether or not, what the competition might be up to as well. Competitive Intercept, another key program that Avocet developed. And this is where we really roll up our sleeves and take a look at the competition outside of some of the strategies and determine ultimately how we can intercept a prospect or a client while they might be interacting with your competitor. So there's some key ways that we can do this. By the way, COVID was a great opportunity. Like many of the economic downturns, brands catapulted their competition by doing very, very smart marketing with a lot of empathy when the competitors went dark. So market downturns or when your competitor is vulnerable are great time periods to deploy a competitive intercept strategy. Intercepting on their turf is another great way. One of the campaigns that we deploy with our thrift stores every year is we place out of home right in front of the competitors' locations when we are trying to bring new competitors into ARC. So it's a great way to intercept on their turf. For the B2B brands listening today, trade shows, another great opportunity. Dropping breadcrumbs, this is where really digital marketing takes hold. But as a brand as an individual might be interacting with a competitor, you can keyword retarget and then intercept your prospect with an ad. There are hundreds of ways that digital can really take hold there. Intercept in a very, very unexpected way. Maggie Civic today talked about some of the strategies, and we're going to have some more discussion on Thursday, I believe, with Jill Preston at Left Hand Brewing about some of the key ways, the guerrilla marketing tactics that they deployed in really building their brand. And then when you have zero name recognition, how do you brand hack? How ultimately can you build immediate top of mind awareness when nobody knows about you? Verbo did a great job with a campaign that they introduced themselves. They were having very little traction. They had a big PR push where they provided a box of cereal to all the PR contacts at a big trade show. It was really what catapulted them to where they are today. So now we've got all these strategies down. We know what we're doing. How brave do you want to be? And this is where you really do want to end up this magic quadrant of innovative tactics and strategies and bold messaging. And what we really try to do here, this ties into that range of acceptability, of course, but what we really try to do is make sure that you're in that upper right quadrant when it comes to those marketing and creative strategies so that you do differentiate. Again, it's not just from your direct competition, it is from that sea of sameness. And eliminating that sea of sameness will ultimately help you impact the bottom line more quickly, and it will help you sell to more people more often. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lori. Well, we have a lot of Q&A coming in, so I will start at the top and see how much time we have. We have about 8 or 9 minutes left, so that's great. So Lori and Jimmy, thank you both so much for sharing that with us. I think it was hand in hand, the advice on early stage and mature companies and how to help them take their vision forward and how they want to grow the business, and from a strategic marketing perspective, how to go about positioning those to differentiate themselves in the market. So let's start there. Jimmy, one of the questions was, if I'm a new company without a large budget, how do I get to a vivid vision? Not that we want to give, this historic, process away, as part of the time spent together today. But there's an interest in what you and the ViTL team have built and how an organization can take advantage of at least some of the guiding principles.
Yeah. First thing I would say is connect with me on LinkedIn or connect with me here, and I can send you some information about, or at least templates on how to go about doing that. You don't need a budget to build a vivid vision. You don't need to hire me to build a vivid vision. In fact, we don't even do a lot of this kind of work anymore anyway, as we talked about how our services have evolved. I'm happy to help you walk you through that. But there are some exercises that you can go through and start talking about. It's really just a matter of understanding what are the areas that go into that vision, and really just start jotting it down and iterating on that. You know, we've taken our vivid vision, and I know Lori has a vivid vision for Avocet as well. We want to use that vivid vision to not only attract talent to our company, but also to use as a marketing tool so people can see who we are, what we're about, and what we stand for. So I wish I had a lot more time to go through all of this, which we just didn't have. But I would say you don't have to hire me to do that. You can reach out to me. I'll talk to you offline about that if you want, show you the template, show you how the different exercises that you can walk through on your own. Because I understand a lot of you don't have money. And to be honest, neither did we when we first started to be able to do these kinds of things. So, you know, I certainly want to help you and guide you and steer you in the right direction. And you don't have to hire me to do that, but I have tools that I can share with you.
Well, a selfless answer and much appreciated. And we will make sure that any and all assets and information that the speakers have shared, not only today but through Friday, are up on the website for download, as well as contact for each of our speakers throughout the week are located on startuploco.com. You go to the speaker section, click on their image, and it will give their LinkedIn information there as well. So always an opportunity to continue to stay in touch with great leaders like Jimmy. So as a brand approaches that stage of their existence where they know that they need to figure out what differentiates them from the others, whether it's retail, CPG, food, pharma, ag, whatever that might be, Lori. This next question asks, what should a brand anticipate as they begin that differentiation process? Is it something that they'll realize overnight? Does it take an immense amount of time? What are the first 2 or 3 things that a brand should anticipate when they work with someone like Avocet on differentiation?
Yeah, probably the first 2 or 3 things that they'll determine is that the first 2 or 3 things they thought could differentiate won't. Really uncovering the soft underbelly of that strategy and that differentiation is key. Again, the points of parity, 95% of the time, our brands might start out with a point of parity as a lead, and they quickly learn that they really do need to differentiate. And you can differentiate in a lot of different areas from, it can be look and feel with a great ad campaign. It can be something that's incredibly gutsy. It can be if you do decide that you want to take customer service as a point of, from a point of parity to a point of differentiation, because a lot of brands aren't doing that yet. Yes, you can turn that into differentiation, but you've got to have a great program backing it up so that you really are walking the walk and talking the talk. One thing that just kills me is, the typical positioning statements out there that you see driving down the highway. Success is our satisfaction. And that sort of thing is just overused so much, and that's really where we want you to stop sitting in and move to that point of differentiation.
Thanks for that. So I think that's an excellent segue into this next question. If an organization, Jimmy, finds themselves at a place where, yes, I know we need to differentiate, yes, we have an expectation that what we think is our strength may not actually be, but we need to be further insightful around our position in the market. How do we define our mission, our goals, and our vision? A lot of companies are confused as to how to differentiate just mission and vision. Like, is one more active than the other? Do I need two? Is there one thing that I can have in order for me to stand out and articulate my brand well? So the question is, how do we as a young brand define our mission from our vision from our goals?
Well, really, that was that pyramid that we talked about. The mission is, why you exist. A lot of people will just, a brilliant idea will come to them. There are really a lot of idea people when it comes to a startup and figuring out how we get that out there. But why do you exist, right? Who are you trying to solve the problem for? That should always be your guiding light. That's like mine at ViTL. Our mission is we exist to help business leaders achieve their vision. And there's a lot that can fall under that headline. The values themselves are why you get out of bed in the morning. So look at yourself introspectively. Why does it matter to you that you're trying to solve a problem for somebody, to make somebody's lives easier? So it's purely the foundation of everything you want to do and how people are going to look at you in the future and decide if they want to do business with you. So you must take that time. The strategy, again, is a smaller view. The vision itself is something you're going to look at over 3 to 5 years. The strategy is how you execute on that vision, on a day-to-day basis. So, really, if you don't build that mission and values, if you don't build that foundation, your company is not going to be built it's going to be built on shaky ground. So take the time to do that first, because it's not just fluff, it's how people look at you and how they choose to do business with you as well.
Excellent. So that pyramid that Jimmy was referring to will be in the slides that we get to share as part of this follow-up right there. So this is from the LEDP washroom, where there are a group of local business leaders and entrepreneurs gathered to watch this live together and to collaborate. And the question is this. Actually, I think it's a good twofold question. One, what exactly does it mean to go to market? And what does PMO optimization stand for?
Okay. Which one do we want to do first?
I'll do go-to-market. You can do PMO.
All right. Mine's a
And
little more obtuse.
Yeah, I think so. There's go-to-market marketing strategies, right? And there's go-to-market business strategies, and that's really a key differentiator here. And of course, our sandbox is the marketing strategy and how ultimately we amplify your voice among that sea of sameness, as I've talked about. And without the strong business strategies leading to that, in a lot of times, most often, the marketing strategy or that sales strategy is going to fail. So I'm going to toss it off to Jimmy to comment on that, and then we can go from there.
The PMO optimization, really, this is something that, unless you're really in our world, you probably don't know what it is, at least from a startup standpoint. PMO stands for Program Management Office. So most of our clients have a PMO set up. It's basically a business unit within their company that sometimes falls under the IT department, sometimes falls under the operation. It's how a business prioritizes big initiatives and projects that come through, and then how they would actually deliver on those. PMO optimization is we help companies who don't have any of that in place right now and help set up the processes for understanding how to prioritize what's important for your company, and then the actual delivery of that too. So the project management, the business analysis that goes on to make sure that those projects are delivered. So you'd be amazed, great big companies have these. There's also, I've seen big companies that don't have it at all, and they just let the businesses manage their projects. So those, it's an offering that we do provide, but it really forms the backbone of a lot of what we do and our knowledge within the management consulting realm. Excellent.
Well, hopefully, team at LEDP Watchroom, those answers will help you out and move you forward with your efforts and goals to build your own businesses. So we got about a minute and a half left. I want to take the last 45 seconds to answer this question that came in. And Lori, this would be for you. The question was around 26 times exposure. What is the one or two fastest ways to hyper-condense the opportunity to be more visual in the market?
Yeah, I would say creative approach, number one. That sea of sameness, I sound like a broken record, but too many brands look similar in the marketplace, and you really do need to differentiate that. So creative strategy is one great way to make that happen. And then, of course, what you do to intercept. So what can we do with that creative concept to intercept a prospect or a competitor as they're interacting with the competition? In most situations, the competitors are doing a lot to market themselves. You can go in, kind of on the bottom of that sea, if you will, and start to just really work your way up by riding on their shirt tails.
Fantastic. And with the 15 seconds that I have left, I will say thank you again to our sponsors for making this possible. Up next at 12 o'clock, the top of the hour, startups as agents of change, impactful ways that help today's startups leverage innovative technologies. You're not going to want to miss it. It's a great lineup of local leaders that will have some insights, tips, and tricks that will help you in your business. So we'll see you at the top of the hour. Lori and Jimmy, thank you very much.